Throughout SeaWorld's history, the mannerism in which SeaWorld has displayed their killer whales has evolved. In SeaWorld's 50-plus year history, SeaWorld shows have bounced around from educational experiences to highly theatrical performances. The shows and the whales in particular have consistently drawn guests worldwide to the SeaWorld parks. To understand where we are today, we must look back to the past. SeaWorld reimagined the traditional SeaWorld show using cetaceans with something all new. It all began with Blue Horizons in 2005. Blue Horizons combined acrobatics, moving set pieces, birds, and trading dolphins in sync with trainers and the music. Blue Horizons was unlike any average zoo aquarium show. Instead, SeaWorld created an experience that could only be comparable to the high-quality entertainment of Disney with the SeaWorld twist. The show opened with rave reviews and redefined entertainment using animals. Following Blue Horizons, SeaWorld debuted Azul in 2010 at SeaWorld San Antonio, yet another highly elaborate and themed show with belugas and Pacific white-sided dolphins. Its predecessor show Viva, just like Azul, was very theatrical. Also in 2010, 5 years after SeaWorld Orlando opened Blue Horizons, SeaWorld brought Blue Horizons to California at SeaWorld San Diego with a similar set and additional theatrical features unique to the San Diego park.
Never seen anything like Blue Horizons, only at SeaWorld.
Just as Blue Horizons was getting its footing at SeaWorld Orlando, an all-new Shamu show will be coming to all three parks. The new show did not fit the mold of guest expectations as it completely shattered and revolutionized everything that came before it, just like Blue Horizons. The performance named Believe would open at SeaWorld San Antonio, San Diego, and Orlando in 2006. SeaWorld spared no expense with Believe. Orlando Sentinel reported that SeaWorld Orlando spent over $10 million alone on the new speaker system and the marquee rotating screens. Like Blue Horizons, Believe 2 was uniquely SeaWorld. The experience improved guest satisfaction and created a new competitive force against Disney and Universal Studios. 4 years passed and the popularity of Believe continued. However, the unexpected death of trainer Don Brancho may very well have caused a rerouting of Believe's future and all shows that would come after it. Believe worked so well due in part to the close interactions between trainer and Orca in the water. After her death, SeaWorld voluntarily ceased all waterworks with the killer whales, dramatically changing how Believe could play out in front of guests. Due to the retrofitted show without trainers in the water, Believe became a shell of its former self. SeaWorld would later announce in December of 2010 that a new show would debut in 2011 at all three parks. It is unclear if the new show, which would later be called One Ocean, was a quick replacement to move beyond SeaWorld's inability to get in the water with the whales, or if One Ocean was already in the works before Don Brancho's death. Would One Ocean ever come to light if Don did not die? Would SeaWorld have continued to create highly elaborate shows like Blue Horizons and Believe using their cetaceans? These questions are quite a mystery. One Ocean would open at SeaWorld Orlando at the end of April, in San Diego it would open on Memorial Day weekend, and in San Antonio it would open in June.
Its wonders will amaze. Its beauty will inspire. Its power will unite. The all-new Shamu Show.
Did you see that?
Come join a celebration like never before. One Ocean, only at SeaWorld.
2011 would be a new era away from Believe and lack of in-water interactions with the killer whales. The new show had a strong conservation message through the use of the show's soundtrack. Additionally, SeaWorld added new lighting and fountain effects. Despite these changes, the set looked familiar. The center stage whale tail was still there. SeaWorld did not remove the large rotating screens. What differed between the Believe set and the One Ocean set was a newly painted whale tail and a replacement of different colors and textures to the pre-existing backdrop. SeaWorld added acrylic wave walls to the top portion of the set, the only addition to the pre-existing structure. SeaWorld San Antonio had the most significant change with their background, as the screen in front of the slide out was removed and replaced with two screens located on the left and right side of the whale tail. Unlike Believe, One Ocean had a long shelf life for the Orlando and San Antonio parks, not so much for the San Diego park. It was less theatrical without trainers in the water, but it did not have a fundamental educational component as advertised. The show more or less included great music paired with beautiful videos of natural oceanic scenes and whales performing behaviors in unison with their distance trainers.
And the other amazing killer whales here at the park. They inspire us to make a difference. All of us working together to celebrate and care for our natural world.
With these remarkable animals in our care, scientists and researchers gain insight and information that would be impossible in the wild.
And if we all join together, side by side, we can work wonders to protect the beauty of our one ocean.
Another bump in the road would occur for SeaWorld Orca shows, as controversy was mounting against the parks because animal activists insisted that using killer whales for entertainment was wrong. In 2015, SeaWorld would announce the end of theatrical shows including One Ocean and all seasonal showings, Shamu Christmas Miracles, Shamu Celebration Light Up the Night, and Shamu Rock and Creep Show. Yet another wave of transition would happen for the SeaWorld parks, which would raise questions with no real answers. Did SeaWorld change the Orca shows because people who had no intention of visiting the park complained? Would performances similar to One Ocean and the Orca holiday experience continue if activists did not protest and the 2013 film against SeaWorld wasn't released? Do activists believe that educational presentations are superior to theatrical shows despite the fact it makes no difference for the whales? Questions without answers. The new mannerism in which SeaWorld would display their killer whales began in 2017 at SeaWorld San Diego with Orca Encounter.
The ocean's most powerful predator, like you've never experienced. The all-new Orca Encounter at SeaWorld. Witness dynamic natural behaviors up close. See the whale's story come to life on the giant infinity screen. Hunting techniques, communication and codes, family interaction, natural fun and play. Feel the deep connection between killer whales and our oceans. Get to know them like never before at the all-new Orca Encounter at SeaWorld, San Diego.
Both anti-SeaWorld activists and SeaWorld supporters were curious what SeaWorld had up their sleeves, as it would be 11 years since the Shamu adventure ended, which included educational commentary. However, all three SeaWorld parks had educational showings occurring in congruence with One Ocean. Both SeaWorld San Diego and San Antonio displayed their killer whales through Killer Whales Up Close, an educational experience, while SeaWorld Orlando was doing Ocean Discovery, which was geared more towards school groups rather than the general public. Upon the debut of Orca Encounter in San Diego, Orca Amphitheater welcomed guests to a brand new set. The Shamu name, which had been the namesake of SeaWorld, was gone. The upgraded setting of the show pool was now naturalistic with new waterfalls and a giant LED screen. SeaWorld San Diego's new set was a visual spectacle unlike any other set created for the Orca shows. Although the set is naturalistic for the audiences sitting around the pool, the set wasn't much of a change from a theatrical set such as One Ocean, as SeaWorld made no changes beneath the water surface. Despite the innovative set, the show fell flat for many people. The Los Angeles Times described the show as slow and boring. Some guests who frequented SeaWorld San Diego preferred One Ocean over Orca Encounter. There was a stark contrast between the closing day of One Ocean and the opening weeks of Orca Encounter. On January 8th, the last day of One Ocean at SeaWorld San Diego, standing room was the only option for guests to see the show. Every show before the final show of the day reached capacity. Meanwhile, Orca Encounter during its opening weeks, capacity wasn't much of an issue. Following the debut of Orca Encounter and its lackluster satisfaction from guests, SeaWorld was silent about when SeaWorld Orlando and San Antonio would receive the show. With no closing date or announcement, SeaWorld Orlando ended One Ocean overnight on December 29th. Guests walked into the park on December 30th with Orca Encounter on park signs, and One Ocean was no more. Orca Encounter was different in Orlando. Guests did not walk into Orca Stadium with a new set. Instead, the stage was the same. The only significant difference was a new stagnant screen that SeaWorld installed months earlier. SeaWorld removed the Sea of Life sculptures from the set, which SeaWorld would later reuse for their Electric Ocean event. SeaWorld San Antonio received Orlando's version of Orca Encounter with minimal changes to the existing set by the following year. The lack of set changes was interesting as SeaWorld announced that the One Ocean set in Orlando and San Antonio would become naturalistic.
Hi, I'm Tanner Grover, and I'm one of the animal trainers here at SeaWorld Orlando. The One Ocean show that you're about to watch was originally created to inspire love of the sea by celebrating the beauty of orcas and our natural world. We're currently in the process of developing the next generation of orca experience, and right now, we'd like to share some of the amazing things that are coming to SeaWorld Orlando. You're going to love One Ocean today, and you're going to love where we're headed in the future. Just take a look, and thanks for being here.
We're putting a huge emphasis on making this as naturalistic of an environment as possible, from the selection of the materials, from the rock work, the trees, the water fountains, all the way to the inside of the stadium where the guests sit.
Even though the backdrop did not change, SeaWorld stopped using its fountains and the full array of lighting effects in both parks. Perhaps it may signify that fountains are too theatrical for guests to see during the show, despite the fact SeaWorld's curator of animal training described the fountains as enriching for the whales. The new version of Orca Encounter took elements from Orca Encounter in San Diego, including pieces of the soundtrack and footage. The Orlando and San Antonio shows were more entertaining, with two segments excluding any educational commentary, the opening and closing of the presentation. However, SeaWorld recycled much of the facts regarding orcas from the San Diego park. Although more popular than San Diego's Orca Encounter, guests missed the seasonal shows and the ability to watch an orca show multiple times without hearing the same script from the trainers. While the orca shows have transitioned, the dolphin shows followed suit, even though most of the complaints against SeaWorld derived from the orcas. Blue Horizons and Azul both ended and were replaced with the traditional dolphin show that no longer tries to compete with Disney but matches your average zoo or aquarium show. To this day, guests take to social media and express how much they miss shows like Blue Horizons and Believe. Throughout all these changes, it's unclear who SeaWorld is changing the park to appease. Anti-SeaWorld activists are the main reason for the change, but they're not the customers walking through the gate. The shift from theatrical to educational presentations is unlikely to improve or decrease the animal's quality of life. Whether the trainers ask the whales to breach in front of an audience for informational purposes versus entertainment, it creates no difference for the whale. Perhaps the change is SeaWorld's attempt to have guests walk out of the park with a new understanding of killer whales, but once again, questions arise. If the goal is to educate guests about the animals, how is it worth the visit when you can learn about killer whales from the comfort of your couch? Does learning about facts have a more significant impact on people to care about their wild counterparts? If education is the goal, why is the script set in stone, causing repeat park visitors to relearn the same facts they heard the last time they were at the park? Orca Encounter in all three parks offers nothing new to learn about the whales unless you're a first-time visitor. If you've been to SeaWorld any time within the past 20 years, you'll most likely hear the same educational information from 20 years ago that you'll listen to again, present day.
Life here is very harsh, but even in this environment, killer whales come to hunt in a fascinating way. They prey on great schools of herring with an incredible amount of teamwork. In these waters, herring are found in vast numbers. They travel in huge schools consisting of thousands of fish. The killer whales here work together to surround the herring and tighten them into a dense circle. The fish appear to be confused and don't know which way to go. From the ocean's top predator, there is no escape. As a few whales keep the school corralled together, others swim in and stun the herring with powerful sweeps of their large tail flukes.
Hunting techniques are as varied as the whales themselves. Norwegian killer whales will circle herring, herding them together. The whales use sounds to coordinate with each other and to disorient the herring. With the fish confused and contained, the whales stun them with their powerful tail flukes, making for an easy meal.
Here's footage of killer whales corralling a school of herring. A whale dips in and feeds, while the other whales keep positioned together with spikes in their tail flukes.
All killer whales are basically the same. True or false? Shout it out. False. You got it. False. There are at least 10 killer whale ecotypes, all with different adaptations to help them survive in their specific environments.
Until about 2 decades ago, scientists didn't know that there were actually several different varieties of killer whales. With effort and observation, however, we discovered that there are actually 10 distinct ecotypes, each differing in size, behavior, diet, lifestyle, and appearance.
Now, Kayukin over here is showing us another important husbandry behavior. This is called a slide out. We have an orca-sized scale in our back pools where we can get their exact weights. Now, we have this because we want to make sure that they're eating all their food and that they're staying healthy. In the water, we would be missing out on all of that weight. So to fix that problem, Megan can ask Orca to lift his entire body up and out of the water. And just like this. This is
There's so much to learn and understand regarding killer whales, but the information delivered to the audience lacks fluidity. After the show, you may find yourself checking out the orcas in the underwater viewing area, and here the SeaWorld educator had the same rotating spiel regarding the animals. The educational signage regarding killer whales repeats the same facts. Beyond the problems associated with a complete transition from theatrical to educational presentations is the lack of inspiration. Both current and former SeaWorld trainers will say the same thing. The guest who sees theatrical shows leaves the stadium in tears, whereas guests who visit an educational show walk out stone-faced. This simple fact creates the most significant implication that if theatrical performances are making guests emotional, they're leaving SeaWorld touched and will more likely take the emotions and apply them where it counts, helping animals in the wild. Education is essential, but education serves no purpose if those whales cannot serve as ambassadors for their wild counterparts when presented in slow, boring, and repetitive ways. Showcasing the Orcinus orca under the perception of education and using non-changing scripts is truly a disservice to not only the whales living at SeaWorld, but the orcas in the wild. SeaWorld's orcas will have served no purpose to the audience or wild whales if guests feel that the trainers preach facts to them rather than creating emotional connection between the audience and the ocean's top predator. Cetaceans possess so much personality and intelligence that educational shows fail to showcase. Blue Horizons believe Azul, Shamu Christmas Miracles, and SeaWorld's other theatrical performances could not only incite visitors to come back and watch the shows again, but touch the hearts of an 8-year-old kid to an 88-year-old grandparent. If education continues to be the permanent fixation of the cetacean shows, variety should be the key to SeaWorld's direction. With SeaWorld's 55 plus years of experience in killer whale care and ample access to information regarding orcas from external resources, the educational material should be as varied as the whales themselves. For SeaWorld Orlando and SeaWorld San Antonio, the decision to end theatrical shows was voluntary, a decision that SeaWorld executives could easily alter. However, at SeaWorld San Diego, the change is set in law and SeaWorld's hands are tied. Despite the legislation, the future of SeaWorld San Diego's orca shows does not, nor should it remain, unchanging in terms of educational content. SeaWorld could, but has chosen not to offer different versions of Orca Encounter since its opening 4 years ago. Not only that, guests are essentially forced to sit through a 30-minute textbook presentation if they desire to see the whales perform trained behaviors. This downside of educational presentations is especially true of SeaWorld San Antonio. There are no underwater viewing areas for their killer whales, belugas, or Pacific white-sided dolphins. meaning there are 0 access points to see these animals other than a show or paying for an upcharge experience. With no ability to bypass the educational presentation or watch an alternative performance, repeat guests will instead have the opportunity to see how SeaWorld weighs a whale or listen as trainers explain how killer whales steer and stop in the water on a constant loop. The future of SeaWorld is unknown in many ways, from its animal care, entertainment offerings, and a seemingly new focus on roller coasters. SeaWorld ended its theatrical sea lion show with no notice in exchange for a more educational, but still comedic, Sea Lion in Otter spotlight within this past year. The transparency of what lies ahead for sea lion shows at SeaWorld San Diego and SeaWorld San Antonio is foggy. What is clear is that the park is morphing to create a facade that hides away from its theatrical history in exchange for educational presentations that are repetitive and loosely representative of the uniqueness and variability of the animals that call SeaWorld home.